welcome to TikTok Live on a Thursday night. Mons, good evening. Bernard, good evening. GB, Cabello, hello Cabello. Mazwide, good evening. Shami, Lee Sunshine, how are you? Good evening and welcome. Naidu V, good evening. Might be one of the people that I deal with. It is what it is. Good evening, it is what it is. Hello Mokhari and Tando and Chikata. Good evening to all of you. Welcome to TikTok Live. Chikata, good evening. Ntabi, Werner, Koen, goeienaand Werner. Destiny, good evening. Good evening. Please do go ahead and post any questions you have. Let's see if I can be of some help tonight with regards to answering some questions. Hello, Sandy Simang. Good evening. Welcome to you. Wow, it's been a busy day, folks. It's been a real busy day. I have been running around big time. As a matter of fact, I almost didn't think I was going to make tonight. That's how busy I was today. But we're here and we're ready to answer any of your questions. So let it roll. Anything you want to know on financial planning, financial advice, investments, pre or post retirement, let's see if I can answer you. Good evening, Graham G. How are you doing, bud? Ashley, good evening. Graham. Let's see, Graham. I'm surprised that you pop in here every now and again, mate. I wouldn't have thought that you would sit and listen to me. But it's nice to see you. Good evening, George Dos Santos. Okay, here's our first question for the evening. And it's from Salim Simang. Please, can you explain the difference between accidental cover to natural life cover? Oh, yes, I'm glad. What a nice question for a change. I'm so used to getting the same questions that it's actually refreshing to get a question like this. So, what's the difference between accidental cover to natural life cover? So, normal life cover is that you take out on your life and there is underwriting done on your life. So, they go through the whole exercise of doing blood tests and medicals if necessary, ECGs, everything. And they make sure that you are healthy, that you don't have any problems that could have you passing away prematurely. And then when they give you this life cover, excuse me, it says that you can literally pass away in any way or form. Whether you get a heart attack, a cancer, a stroke, if you're in a car accident, a shooting accident, if you go and you do bungee jumping or parachuting and it doesn't work, so literally any type of death that happens to you, it will pay out. That's what normal life cover is all about. It does not qualify any specific manner in which you become or in which you pass away. It will always just pay out. Accidental cover says that we will only pay you out in the event that you pass away due to something that happened as an accident. Car accident, airplane accident, shooting accident. So there's a number of accidents can happen. You can fall off a mountain and that's an accident. So any type of accident that causes your death will pay out. But it will only pay out in the event of accidents. If you pass away now because of a natural medical condition, let's put it that way, a natural medical condition like a heart attack or stroke or cancer or something like that, then the life cover won't pay out on accidental death cover because that's as a medical condition. And that is why accidental cover is also substantially more affordable than life cover, because as much as we would like to think that lots and lots of people die in accidents, and there are lots of people that do pass away in accidents, the majority of people still pass away naturally. if I can put it that way, meaning passing away from old age or from sicknesses and diseases and stuff like that. So that is, in short, the difference between normal life cover and accidental life cover. Good evening, Mabuya. Good evening, Smiley. Folks, just give me 1 second. I just need to get a tissue. Does anyone? Sorry about that. I had a curry just before I sat down to come and talk to you guys, and it's given me a bit of a runny nose. Not sick, I promise you. Let's see who's next here. Noel B. My wife wants to resign on 53 years of age. Must her money go into a pension fund or can she invest? Noel, if your wife wants to resign, okay, because it's before the age of 55, she can do a few things with regards to her money. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's a pension fund or a provident fund. It's irrespective. It doesn't matter. She can either leave the money in the fund. So her employer that she's with, she can leave the money in their pension or provident fund, and it will just keep on growing as that fund grows. So obviously she won't be contributing anymore, but whatever the growth is that's in that fund, she will get. Second option would be to say, okay, I don't want to leave it with that company, and therefore I'm going to move it to a preservation fund. So you can move it to a company, any investment company that offers preservation funds, Old Mutual, Sanlam, Liberty, Alan Gray, Alexander Forbes, they all offer preservation funds. Same effect, you can't contribute to it anymore, but it goes into a fund of your choice. You choose portfolios of your choice, and it will keep on growing there. Third option, this is the one that is definitely, according to me, an absolute no-no, is she can choose to withdraw the money. So if she withdraws the money, okay, then they're going to say, we give you 27,500 rand tax-free, and the rest of your capital is then taxed on a sliding scale. You get hammered with tax. You absolutely get hammered with tax. And then once you've got that money in your personal capacity, you can do with it as you please. And that's the one that we always advise people not to do because of the amount of money people lose when they withdraw. Even if they go and reinvest the money, they are still 10 times worse off because of the tax than what they would have been in a preservation fund. So she can take the money and invest it, but I would really not recommend it. It's 2 years from actual retirement. I'll put it in there, and if nothing else, just wait until 55. And at the age of 55, if I now really want to lay my hand on some money, then retire from the fund by taking 1/3 and 2/3 as a type of income. But no, yeah, if your wife wants to resign, I hope she's got another job or she's got something else lined up, number one, because I think 53 is very young to actually retire or resign. So that's the first thing. And secondly, I hope that wherever she goes, she's going to have another pension fund so that she can keep on contributing and have enough at retirement. Good evening, Tressa. So no, Noel, I think I've just answered it. I just didn't realize that you put a second sentence here. Invested in a separate account without being taxed? Yes, she can. By moving the pension or provident fund money into a preservation fund with one of the other companies, that transfer is completely tax-free. So you can go and reinvest it into a preservation fund tax-free. It's just when you withdraw it and then you want to invest it, that's when you pay taxes and when you pay big taxes. Okay, so let's go further. Pleasure is mine. I'm glad if it helped you. Interesting names always. I always find it so interesting when I read these names. Let's see. Hotshot and Sticks and Lindum. Lots of people come in and out, in and out, in and out. Not lots of people asking questions. Okay, Sandim Simang, thank you very much for another question here from your side. For a married couple, you say, is it a must for them to nominate the same guardian? Ooh, yo. That is actually a very, very interesting question. Okay, so Here's the thing. When you draft wills, okay, you've got a choice to draft individual wills or to draft joint wills. So let's say you and your husband decide that you want to draft a joint will. So in your joint will, you will have to agree on everything. That's the thing. So you're going to have to agree on absolutely everything. So you're going to have to agree on, in the event of your death, who gets what, if there's children, whether there should be a trust or whatever. And then you're going to have to agree on the guardians, because you can't say my wife says this and my husband says this. But if you do individual wills, each his own, I can then say I nominate my wife, and if she's not there anymore, I nominate the children, and I want the trust to be drafted, and my trustees must be Mr. A, B, and C, and the guardian must be Mrs. D. My wife could have exactly the same thing, saying my husband must inherit everything, but if he dies, it goes to our child, and then I want Mr. X, Y, and Z to be the trustees, and Mr. W or Mrs. W to be the guardian. So you can actually have two different sets of trustees and different sets of guardians. Now, the only time that this is going to become a problem is if you have your separate wills, and in your separate wills you've now got your separate trustees and your separate beneficiaries. If both of you pass away together, then the executors of those two estates are going to have to talk to each other and say, hey, we've got a problem here. The problem is husband nominated this, wife nominated that. So that's going to be a tricky one. I'm going to be very honest with you. I will not be surprised if the executors cannot come to an agreement, if something like that don't end up in a court of law. That is a very, very big possibility. But if you have these separate wills, separate trustees and separate guardians, and the husband passes first, okay, and then the wife passes away, let's say car accident, husband dies immediately, wife passes away 40 days later, then it's the wife's will that will actually determine who the trustees and who the guardian is going to be. Because the husband passed away first, it's seen that everything would have gone to the wife. Now she's passed, so she's the last living person, and therefore her will finally decide what goes where and whether there's trustees and guardians and so on. So very, very interesting question. And the problem, like I say, is going to be with individual wills. If it's a joint will, no problem, because you're going to have to agree upon everything that goes in there. And then, once again, doesn't matter who passes away first, but in the will, it says, these are the trustees, these are the guardians. And because one of you are still alive at that stage, that person will in any case be the guardian, unless, once again, the two of you die together in that car accident, then the guardian will stand. So yeah, it could become very, very interesting, eh? Thank you very much, Sadim-san. Very interesting question. You've got two very interesting questions tonight. Man, I think maybe I should ask you to go and get more questions like this, because normally people ask the same thing over and over and over. Stan Man says, hi bud. How's it, Stan Man? How are you doing, bud? Zandi says, I am 42 years old and wish to improve my savings portfolio. I have been putting money in ETFs to diversify. Zandi, that's a very good start. If you've got ETFs, depending on the type of ETFs, I don't know which ones you have. There are some very good ETFs, and then there's ETFs that don't do as well, but that's good. I think for me, the thing is, when somebody like says this to me, I'm very happy that they're investing. Absolutely 100%, very glad that you are at least investing. And if you've got different ETFs, I'm very happy that you're investing in different ETFs, because like you say, you've diversified. For me, the question just remains with regards to your investments. I'm looking at you being 42 years old. Number one, are you investing aggressively enough? Somebody that's 42 years old could potentially be investing very aggressively in high equity ETFs, preferably and overwhelmingly global ETFs. That's the first thing. So, are you investing in the right risk band or risk profile? That's number one. Number two, the type of investments that you've got with these ETFs in. Is it the right investment for you? Because remember, you can make use of endowments, unit trust, tax-free accounts or tax-free investments, and retirement annuities. So you've got 4 different types of investments that you can put these ETFs in. Now the question is, are you putting in the right investment? Because if you are putting it into a unit trust, but your tax bracket is 31% higher, you're most probably doing yourself a disservice. If your tax bracket is less than 30% in your endowment, once again, you're most probably doing yourself a disservice. Do you have a tax-free account or not? Are you making use of that? Do you have retirement annuities so that you don't only get the benefit of the ETF that you invested in, but also the tax rebates that you can get? So that's where the thing comes in for me. Investing in ETFs, let's put it this way. If you are investing in an ETF that gives you a return of 10% and that's your aim, you're doing well. You're already doing well. But if you have structured your investments correctly, from a tax point of view, you might still only be getting 10% return on investment, but because of the taxes that you've structured correctly, you could be getting substantially higher return by making use of that right tax structures. So you won't see it on your investment, but where you will see it is, for example, if you've got the tax-free investment, you won't be getting a 10% return on investment. You'll most probably get an 11% return on investment. That's min of meer the difference between a taxable and a tax-free investment. Retirement annuity. You're not going to get more than the 10% return on investment, but you're going to get the tax rebates on your contributions. And if those contributions, the tax rebates that you got, when you receive it at the end of the year, if you put that back into your investment again, then that's an automatic and immediate growth of another 4, 5, 10, 15%. So great of you to diversify via ETFs. Just make sure it's the right risk profile, right products, okay? And then you are sweet. The Joester says, hello, should I pay 3,000 Rand extra on my bond or invest it for 5 years? Which is better return? The Joester, I'm going to give you a stock standard answer that I give everybody, and that is, I don't know. And the reason I don't know is not because of I don't understand how to calculate the returns on the investment. The reason I don't know is because I don't know what will give you more peace of mind. And let me explain it to you quickly. If you've got a bond, and this is a pretty easy way to go and calculate this. If you've got a bond and your interest rate on your bond, or your bond rate as they call it, is 10%. It means that you are paying 10% financing or interest on your actual outstanding amount. So if you put an extra 3,000 Rand in, for every 3,000 Rand that you're putting in, you're saving 10% on interest. So you can effectively say that your return on your investment is 10% because you're saving 10% in interest. If you are going to do an investment now, in order to do better than a 10% saving on interest, you need to get an 11% return so that you have 11% growth and therefore 1% more than the 10% interest that you're saving on the bond. So here's the thing. Number one, I don't know, or nobody can give you a guarantee. That's the thing. Nobody can give you a guarantee that the return that you are going to get on your investment is going to outperform that bond interest rate. We can choose a portfolio that has shown it's given a return of 12 or 13 or 14%, and we can hope to get that. And if we do, it's better to do the investment, because if you get a 14% return versus 10% interest, you're beating your bond rate by 4%. Great. But we can't guarantee it. We don't know if we're going to get that. On the bond, you might only get you've got a 9% interest rate, and therefore it's a medium risk, but at least you know you guarantee that you're going to get that as return on your investment. So, That's the first thing. It's very difficult to say whether the investment is going to outperform the bond or not. Okay? And you literally have to, I almost want to say, take a educated guess or educated gamble, depending on which way you want to go. But the big thing for me, and the very important thing for me, is the peace of mind factor. So if you have, let's say you've got an interest rate once again of 9%, you are certain you're going to get 14% return on investment if you invested in investment, so you know you're going to beat the bond by 5%. Now the question is, in those 5 years that you've got this 3,000 Rand that you can put away, what is going to make you sleep better? Is it going to make you sleep better to know I'm investing the money there and it's piling up? Or is it going to make you sleep better to know that every month my bond is a bit less and less and less and less? What makes you more comfortable? I think it's one of the most important things in investments that people leave out of the equation, is what will make me comfortable, what will give me peace of mind. And the Joester, that is most probably a more important question than will the 3,000 Rand be better on my bond or an investment. Okay, I hope it's answered it for you, mate. The sums we can go do depending on your actual bond rate, and we can give an exact thing and say definitely this side or that side if we get this and this, but it's going to be small margins. It's the peace of mind thing for me. Stanman says, what would be the best investment currently for 200k to get maximum return of investment over the next 20 years? Stanman, sorry. If I could give you that answer, okay, then I would have to have a crystal ball where I can see which investment is going to give you the best investment return over 20 years. But I can't, because none of us has that crystal ball. I mean, I would advise people that if they've got such a long investment horizon, 20 years that they can invest for, I would advise people to go 100% into equity, and I would, which is shares. I would advise them to invest into a portfolio, something that is 100% shares, and I would advise them to have a large chunk of that, 60, 70, 80% in international shares, in global shares. That would be my advice, because that type of investment is geared to try and get you the best and highest possible growth on a year-to-year basis. And if it does that over 20 years, it's going to be fantastic. But here's the thing. If we look at IT stocks, for example, if you look at what IT stocks have done over the last few years, and especially lately with AI that's coming to the fore so much, IT stocks are blowing the roof off. Okay? Those things are killing it. But we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So let's say, just shits and giggles, 5 years down the line, something happens and AI is not that important anymore. IT is not that important. The whole world has decided, listen, your computers is a bad thing. Let's just move back and we all become farmers. We all live off the land. Then suddenly AI stocks are going to collapse. And then suddenly it will be much better to be invested in cultural farming, man. It would be much better to invest in that. So what I'm trying to say to you is, we cannot decide today what is the best investment to give us the best return over 20 years. What we can do is we can take an educated decision on current situations, invest in portfolios and shares that promises currently to give the highest possible return, and then, important, by doing annual reviews, to annually go and check those investments, and if necessary, move from fund to fund as you go. That is the best investment. The investment that you choose now, but check regularly and make changes to if necessary. That's going to be the best one, Stan, man. And remember, I'm talking about investments from investment houses. If you have somebody here that is seriously into gold, they will tell you buy gold for everything. If you've got somebody that believes in alternative investments, they're going to tell you alternative. If you've got somebody that believes in property, that's what they're going to promote. And all of those are viable choices, depending on how much risk you're willing to take and how much you believe that what they are saying is actually right. So it's absolutely a thing of planning, making a decision, and then monitoring. I hope that answers Stan, man. That was a lack of question. Thanks, bud. The Joester, hello, should I pay 3? Oh, sorry, Joester, we've answered that one. Sorry, yeah, folks, I see like the Joester, sometimes people put in a question twice because I get hung up and I answer a question. I try and give a bit of an explanation so that people know, and then they think I've missed it or forgot about them. So I do apologize, but thank you very much. Sandy Minsang says, please can you kindly explain replacement ratio with an example, please? What replacement ratio are you referring to here? I'm not 100% sure the replacement ratio you're talking about, because it could be replacement of risk policies, it could be replacement investments, it could be, there's a number of replacement that we can talk about. So I'm not 100% sure what replacement ratio you're referring to. Let's see if you can give me that, and then I can see if I can answer you. Maybe I'm just not understanding the question there. Sandy Masang. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm really trying. Oh, the Joester, it's my pleasure, sir. Please know that what I'm giving you is not advice. Okay, it is advice. But what I mean is, I'm not advising individuals here on individual investments or whatever. I'm advising, or I'm giving guidelines on understanding and making decisions. Okay, but happy that I can help, Joester. Let's see. Christy Bester, you must think that I've forgotten about you. I'm just coming down the list. Christy says, preservation fund route after resignation, 10 years left, can you go RA route and tax-free investment? Christy, if you've got a pension or provident fund, I'll definitely go the preservation fund route. I will not go the retirement annuity route, okay? You can go retirement annuity, but I won't do that. Because you've got 10 years left, as much as I promote that when you put money into a preservation fund, you leave it until actual retirement, as much as I promote that, the one big benefit about a preservation fund is that you've got access to the fund. So if there's a major crisis, then you've got access to the fund. I've just recently had a client that got retrenched, moved their funds into a preservation fund because they don't want to touch it, and then they did not find work within the next, I think it was 6 months, which they thought was going to be a foregone conclusion. And suddenly they are in financial difficulty, and then suddenly we had to access some of those funds. So that's the wonderful thing about a preservation fund. Not only does it preserve and grow your capital, it also gives you flexibility in terms of planning. So with 10 years left, I will definitely go the preservation route. I will not make use of an RA, although you can. Then in terms of a tax-free investment, remember that you can only do 46,000 Rand per year in a tax-free investment. So hopefully your pension or provident fund has substantially more than 46,000 in it. So maybe it's not the ideal place to go. And once again, I don't want to withdraw money when I move it to a preservation fund, because the amount of money that I'm drawing is going to be taxed. So you're taking money which could have been moved tax-free, you're withdrawing it, you're paying tax on it to put it into a tax-free investment. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't really make sense to go from tax-free to tax-free. If you want to invest in a tax-free investment, the only money that you should be using, and that's my personal opinion, is whatever you earn after you've paid your taxes per month. So if you get a salary and your PAYE has been taken off, whatever is left on your net salary, take money out of that and go and invest that. Okay, that's my honest opinion. I hope that answers it for you, Christy. Thank you for the question. Let's see if there's anybody else. Pleasure, Joester. Let's see who else we've got here. So many hearts. I wonder what that means. Billy says, we appreciate your time. So, oh, Billy, I'm glad, man. You know what? I quite enjoy this on a Thursday night. And it actually gives me a warm feeling around the heart when I see comments like that. Then at least it means that I'm providing a service, something that's needed. So fantastic. Crazy K, yes. Yes, Crazy K, yes. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it, folks. Good evening to you. Okay. User free, verskrikkelike long number. I've had discussions about diversification. We got into gold and silver coins. Okay. You got into gold and silver coins. I'm not the biggest fan of gold. I think if you want to buy gold and silver coins, it's because you want to be a collector and you want to hold it. Personally, I'm not a big fan. Gold, folks, is one of those things that people run to normally. And you can check it. Over the years, you can check it. Gold is one of those things that you can run to when there's crises. Whenever there's wars that break out, whatever, whenever there's a recession, that's when people go and buy gold. For some other reason, gold just has this safety effect. I think it goes back to the time of the Romans, where you could exchange gold for a sheep and now you're going to be able to eat for a week or something like that. But yeah, people run back to gold normally when there's crises, and then when it's not, then gold just plods along. Gold has had a tremendous run over the last few years. And once again, a lot of that run has to do with the US elections, Trump coming into power, certain legislation he changed around gold, etc., etc. Gold is still running at the moment. Part of it is the wars that we have going on, Ukraine and Russia, Iran and USA. But then also at the end of the day, the big demand that there is in certain industries for it, the safety thing once again, etc. I think that a lot of people want to go to things like gold and silver because they are seeing how well it's been doing in the last few years. But my honest opinion is if you go into gold now, it's a bit late. You're hitting it pretty much at the high point. You should have been in 2 years ago, then you would have smiled big time. And that's the thing with investments. Timing sometimes is very important. Excuse me. Uncle Donnie says, you really think technology... No, Uncle Donnie, I don't think technology will fall down. No. No. I'm sorry. Sometimes I don't use wonderful examples, but I just try and use something that everybody I think knows about to create a scenario. That's all I'm trying to do. So no, I do not think for one moment that technology will fall down. As a matter of fact, we had a presentation on technology just yesterday and in our environment, and people are very concerned these days with AI, with technology going to take over their jobs and whatever the case might be. And it was interesting to see, since AI has now really come to the fore, how quickly certain industries has moved forward. Predictions with regards to operations, for example, they reckon within the next 5 years we're going to have certain robots that's going to be able to do certain operations on people much better than surgeons do it, because it will be because it's a robot. Have you ever seen that video of the robot hitting the hole in one? Because everything has exactly been calibrated and calculated. Well, exactly the same thing. And I reckon not too long from now, we're going to be there where robots will do certain operations, and a lot of people will benefit from it because that robot will now be able to operate 24 hours a day, and not like a surgeon, 6 or 8 hours or 10 hours, and then they have to go and rest. So no, I don't think technology will fall down. I literally used something that I know is front of mind at the moment to try and give an illustration. That's all I tried to do. Okay, Uncle Donnie? Do you think it's wise for a young person? Your question was... Oh, Your question was about the silver and gold. Sorry, you don't have a name user 309 long number. Do you think it's wise investment for a young person? Yes, absolutely. Let me explain something to you folks. My honest opinion is any investment, any investment is a good investment for somebody that's young and that's willing to leave it for a long time. And the reason why I say any investment is a good investment is because as long as there's growth on it and as long as you get that compound growth effect over a 20, 30, 40-year period, you are going to have a substantial amount of money in the future. You are going to smile because of the capital you built up, the growth that you've got. So any investment for a young person, I think, is a good investment. For me, it is gold and silver coins best, or is savings accounts best, or is this or that? For me, it is, if you are willing to invest for a long period of time, every investment is a good investment, or any investment is a good investment. But you can sit and do planning around your personal circumstances, take into consideration how much risk you're willing to take into consideration your personal tax brackets, and then you can make an informed decision on an investment that will perform even better because you've chosen the right investment from the right risk profile point of view and the right tax bracket point of view. So that's my opinion. So for the young person that wants to buy something like that, absolutely. But I'm not going to tell you that I think it's the best investment in the world, because I'm not a big fan of it, just like I'm not a big fan of property. I would rather have my money in an endowment than in a property or something like that. So I hope that answers your question with regards to silver and gold coins. Let's see who's next here. They say you must aim for 7. Oh, that replacement. Sorry, Sadim Zimang. The replacement ratio on retirement savings. Okay, they say you must aim for 75% replacement ratio on your retirement savings. So in terms of that, okay, so basically what that 75% means is the calculation, or the recommendation always is to say, okay, we have to plan for your retirement into the future. You are 40 years old now, you're going to retire at the age of 60. But if you were to retire tomorrow, based on your current income, how much income would you need? So let's say you're earning 10,000 Rand a month right now. So if you retire tomorrow, 100% replacement ratio would be 10,000 Rand. The reason why people talk about 75%, 75 to 80%, I've always worked on the 80% replacement ratio, is to say, if I get to retirement and my last year's income is 10,000 Rand per month, if I get to retirement at that point, I should have certain things that are sorted out. If I had kids, they should be out of their house, university paid, everything like that. House should be paid off. Car most probably paid off. I shouldn't have any debt anymore. I shouldn't be traveling every day from Joburg to Pretoria for work and back, so I don't have to pay that much in petrol. I'm not going to need a cell phone contract of 2,000 Rand a month because I'm not going to be phoning all my colleagues all the time anymore, so just enough for family and friends. So there's certain expenses that should come off. So you should not need a 10,000 Rand per month income and therefore 100% replacement ratio. 75 to 80% should be sufficient. So what's my opinion about it? Based on what I've seen, yes, it works. If you work on that 75% to 80% replacement ratio, it works. And if you do your planning in order to reach that goal, 99.999% of the time, you're going to be spot on if you get enough capital to retire like that. What I have seen, however, is although we always advise people to aim for that, plan for that, invest for that, it's very seldom that people actually can afford to invest that much. And I very often see that the actual retirement that people, or the actual income replacement ratio that people actually retire with, is normally between 50 to 70%. It's sad, but it's true. Lots and lots of people cannot or do not have the sufficient capital to retire with that 75 to 80%, and they have to make peace that they are going to retire with 50 to 70% as a replacement ratio. And then at retirement we find that we then suddenly have to make some serious decisions with regards to expenses and. So aim for 75, 80%, absolutely. Invest for it, plan for it, do everything you can to reach it, and I believe you're going to be okay. Reality, if you don't do it, you are going to be in a much lower replacement ratio and most probably in trouble. Kunta Kinte, good evening. I want to retire in next 10 years. Already have an RA. Should I add to RA or another 10-year investment? So Kunta, once again, I'm going to tell you what I told one of the people earlier. If I had a crystal ball, I would have told you. But Kunta, here's the thing. If you have a retirement annuity, okay, I need to actually have a consultation with you where I can find out more about you and what you are invested in, because I do not know anything about you. I don't know what your earnings are. You could be earning 100,000 Rand a month. And if you only have an RA of 1,000 Rand a month, you are way short. You need to put in much, much more into a retirement annuity and other investments. But you could be earning 100,000 Rand a month and already contributing 27,000 Rand per month to a retirement annuity. And then I would say, no, don't invest any more in there because you already get your maximum tax break. Put it into a different investment. I don't know if you've got debt. If you've got a lot of debt, like credit card debt, it might be better to actually pay off a credit card before you invest more money. So, as much as I'd like to give people a straightforward answer and say, yes, go and invest there, on questions like this, it's virtually impossible to tell anybody that asks a question like this what they should be doing unless I actually have a discussion with them, do an information gathering session with them, and then once I understand their situation and their information, only then can I really truly say to you, yes, I think put it into your RA, increase your retirement annuity, take a different RA, put it into endowment unit trust. Only then can I answer you that. So my good sir, make an appointment with our office, with myself or one of the advisors. Let us do that financial planning exercise for you, and then we can make a good recommendation. It shouldn't be something that's going to take hours. If we get your information and quick session, if you don't want to sit and chit chat and we get all your information in 15 minutes, 10 minutes for a planning session, we can give you a reasonably accurate answer. Okay. So let's see who's next. I must say, I love the interaction tonight. Desi, I haven't seen you in a while, Desi. Good evening. If you buy a gold coin today for 100k and try to sell it back the same day, you will lose 10k. Yes, Desi, that's unfortunately true. Gold coins is like driving a car off the showroom floor. You bought it for 300,000 Rand. The moment you drive it out there, it's 260,000 Rand worth. It is unfortunate, like you say. Let's see. My Gigi, good evening. How are you, my Gigi? Nice to see you again. Yes, there's people here that are starting to feel like friends. I see them, making comments on videos often, or asking questions, or joining us here on a Thursday night and sitting in, answering questions and asking questions. Armand says, hello Armand, I hope you're still here, mate. What's a good amount of money to retire with the economy now, Armand? So let me give you a roundabout answer. We talk about the rule of 300, okay? So the rule of 300 basically means, Or is it 30? Hang on a second. I'm confusing myself here now. Da, 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 da. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 times 30 equals. No. Then 1, 2, 3 times 3. No. I've literally just confused myself, yeah? Yeah. Well, actually it could be either. Okay. Rule of 300, rule of 30. Okay, so basically take your monthly income. Let's say it's 10,000 Rand once again, multiply it by 300. Or take your annual income, multiply that by 30. Okay. Plus minus just about. That's the amount of capital that one should need to retire with. Because, and the reason why I say one should do something like that as a famsak, is that the person that's earning 10,000 Rand a month, based on this little calculation now, should need between 3 to 3.5 million Rand now to retire with in order to get that 10,000 Rand per month income. The person that has 100,000 Rand per month income, he needs 10,000 amount. He needs 30 to 35 million to retire with. So that's the first thing, is you have to aim for a specific capital amount based on your own personal income, and then based on the replacement ratio that I was just asked about, in order to determine what is the good amount of money you need to retire with in the future. With the current economy, don't worry about the current economy, you must worry about the future. I had a client that had recently retired, and when they retired, the pension fund was X amount, and when the money eventually paid out, because there's a whole process, this war started, and the pension fund actually reduced in value by about 5%. Okay, so that's a substantial amount of money. I mean, if your pension fund is worth 10 million Rand and reduces by 5%, you're losing 500,000 Rand. And the person was very concerned about the planning that we did. And then I showed them that the impact on the income that we calculated, number one, was not that big, because it was a substantial capital amount. It was a little bit smaller, but not so much that it was going to hurt the person. They're suddenly going to be they were suddenly going to be stuck in poverty. That's the first thing. The second thing is that person, their 10 million Rand pension fund that was now 9.5 million Rand worth, they were concerned about that drop. But now remember, if you are invested in a pension fund, and let's say you are invested in a balance fund, that balance fund was 10 million Rand. It comes down to 9.5 million Rand because of a bad economy. Now the money gets taken from this side and put into your income plan on this side. Let's say you're using a living annuity at 9.5 million Rand. And once again, you buy into a balance fund. The balance fund you buy on this side has done exactly the same as the balance fund on that side. It's come down. So now the moment that the economy starts going back up, your 9.5 go back to 10 million Rand. So the amount of capital that you're going to have in your investment might change because of a bad economy, but it should not be a deciding factor for somebody to panic and say, oh, suddenly now I am in poverty. Because in the law of averages, what you've got on the one side, you're going to have on the other side. So Armand, go and do that little calculation for yourself. Go and determine for yourself what is the amount that you will need based on your personal income and based on your replacement ratio. And if you need help with this, contact us. We'll do a little calculation with you, and we will give you some guidance as to what will be a good capital amount for you on the day that you retire. Okay. And then there's the one thing that we don't talk about very often is 3 million Rand today. If you work out the future value somewhere into the future, it will be 25 million in the future. So the 25 million Rand then in the future will buy exactly the same as 3 million Rand today. And very often people look at that future value and they get a complete heart attack, if I can pull it that way, because they're thinking, gee whiz, that is a humongous amount. But in the future, because of inflation, growth rates, whatever the case might be, it's going to be basically the same as today's 3 million rand. It just looks much, much more, but it's not really. Okay, Kunta, I'm glad you're with me. Fantastic. How many people actually review their financial plans annually? Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, in my experience, 15 to 20% do it every year. So 2 out of 10. Basically, my clients, that's my experience, about 2 out of 10 every year. And then when you start looking at every 2 to 3 years or maybe 4 years, the ratio goes up, because you've got those people that checks it every year, then people that checks it like every 3 or 4 years. I think the biggest problem is that some people look at a financial plan and then they don't do anything about it again for the next 5, 7 or 10 years. That's the bigger problem. And lots of people get contacted to do their annual reviews, and then they're like, nothing has changed, so let's not check anything this year. So yeah, sometimes the fact that people don't review their financial plans are their fault. I've said it many times. Sometimes it's the financial advisor that don't follow up. Okay, let's see where we're going. 9 minutes to go. I cannot believe how many people have actually asked some good questions tonight, and not the same as always. It's been so lekker tonight. PG says, how much is tax on 624,000 Rand? So PG, what are you referring to when you're asking how much is tax on 624,000 Rand? Are you talking about pension fund money that you withdraw before retirement, and how much the tax is going to be on that? Are you referring to the 1/3 that you can withdraw at retirement, and your 1/3 is worth 624,000 Rand? What exactly is it that you are referring to? So we don't know. So I'm gonna take a stab in the dark here, okay? And I'm gonna say, okay, let's say we are talking about, I've got 624,000 Rand in my pension fund, and I am resigning tomorrow, but I'm not 55 years old, and I'm gonna withdraw the money. What is going to be the tax that I'm gonna pay on 624,000 Rand? So let's see quickly. 624 minus 27,500 equals, and then times by 18% equals. So if you are before retirement, where did you go now? Where's the question? Sorry, let me just get back to that. There we go. PG, where's your name now? You were there right now. Right now. There we go. Okay. So PG, if you make a withdrawal from a pension fund because you're retiring, and your total pension fund is worth 624,000 Rand, okay? And you withdraw everything, you're going to pay 107,370 Rand in tax. 107,370 in tax. Now, if you go into retirement and you've got 624,000 Rand, just give me a second here, I need to put the little thing in there. If you've got 620,000 Rand in a pension fund or in your 1/3, and now you're going to be withdrawing that 1/3, okay, then the tax works out as follows. 4,000. So now your 624,000 Rand, you are just going to going into retirement. That's your 1/3, and now you have to pay tax because you were drawing that. Now the tax amount is 13,320. So Let that sink in for a second. 13,320 Rand in tax. If you take it as your 1/3, 107,000 Rand as if you withdraw it because you've resigned. Do you see, folks? Do you understand why I'm always so adamant that people should not be withdrawing their funds when they retire, when they resign? You are killing yourself on a tax front. I mean, even 13,000 Rand is a lot of tax. I know what I can do with that. Okay, Armand says, thank you. What's the best startup investment at this moment? Armand, the best startup investment is going to differ from person to person, mate. For some people, the best thing is to put money into a savings account at the bank, literally. As much as I'm not a fan of it, for some people, that's the best place to go and put their money because they need to build up an emergency fund. For some people, a tax-free investment is the best thing because they want to invest for a very long time. For other people, a unit trust will be the better thing because of liquidity and they don't want to use their tax-free money. So it literally depends from the person to person. For somebody that wants to be committed for a specific goal, 10, 15, 20 years or into the future or retirement, an endowment or a retirement annuity might be the best option. So Armand, it really differs from person to person. Once again, it comes back to that thing that I said. You have to have a consultation, find out what your needs and wants is, understand your circumstances. Only then can one really give you a recommendation. Okay, let's see. I hope that answers it for you, Armand. Let's see. Almost at the end, folks. Almost at the end. I don't know if it is as chilly where you are as it is where I am, but tonight I cannot wait to get under my duvet. It is really chilly. And this jean that I've got on, I don't know why we wear jeans all the time, especially in winter. Yes, it's some of the coldest material out. But we do. Okay. Sandim Simang, eventually I got it right. Mate, you're going to have to contact me. I'm going to have to buy you a gift bag or something for the very good and interesting questions you've asked tonight. What is the biggest financial mistake you see people make that could easily be avoided? Oh man, biggest financial mistake? People don't do a budget. Biggest financial mistake. People don't do a budget and people don't know how to budget. So that's the biggest financial mistake I see people make. And the plain and simple reason for me saying budget is because if you understand how to do a budget and you understand how to manage a budget, you will understand that when you do a budget, irrespective of what your income is, the first 10% should go towards paying yourself, as they say, paying yourself first. That means, once again, if you earn 10,000 Rand per month, before you pay anything else, 1,000 Rand must be invested for your future self, for you into the future self. So that means that you must make sure that your budget, your expenses, doesn't matter whether we talk rent, food, petrol, DSTV, cell phones, everything should fit into 9,000 Rand if you're earning 10,000, because the first 10% you should put away for your future self. So that's the biggest mistake people make, is budgeting. People don't do it, so they waste their money, and people say they can't do it, and it's because they're ill-disciplined. Let's see. Armand, what's the best growth rate? Armand, mate, there's like 3,000 different portfolios in South Africa. And depending on when you look at them, today it will be the Old Mutual Global Equity Fund. Next month it will be the Allan Gray Orbis Equity Fund. 1 month it will be the Coronation Balance Fund. It really depends on the type of investment in the portfolio. And there is no best growth rate. What I'm trying to say to you is we pick portfolios in line with people's needs, in line with the strategy that they want to follow. My strategy is I want to beat inflation by 3%. So choose a portfolio that aims to beat inflation by 3%. That's my strategy. If I could tell you which portfolio is going to be the best growth rate for today, next month, next 6 months, and next year, next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, if I could tell you that, I would be a multi-billionaire. As a matter of fact, you will not be able to afford a consultation with me if I could do that. So all we can do is a very educated advice process, and then decision-making process to get a product and a portfolio that's in line with what you want as an individual. There we go, Armand. 624. Okay, PG, so I've calculated that for you. So that will then be that 13,000 Rand amount. So well done. I'm glad it's your 1/3 and it's not your full pension fund. Great stuff. How important do you think an auditor consultation is for business development? Armand, I suppose that all depends on whether you are a startup or whether you are an established business, how big it is, how much knowledge you have. I can't really give you a straightforward answer because this is not really something that I am involved in. I give financial advice with regards to investments. I've got limited knowledge when it comes to taxes, and my knowledge is mainly around investments, so I can advise people on which investments be. Business, trusts, PTYs, accounting. I've got some workable idea about everything, and it's all centered around insurance again, and things are picked up, but it's not my main game. Therefore, I'm definitely not a specialist in something like this. A question like this, I would normally refer to my accountant and auditors, and I'll ask them. So what I do have, Armand, is I've got a couple of lawyers, and I've got accountants, and I've got an international tax consultant, and we work as a team when it comes to clients. So if they start asking things like that, I put people together that can help people with questions like yours. I see it's a completely different topic. We will have to have a completely different conversation, Armand. Ladies and gents, it is 7 o'clock in the evening. I'm going to have a quick look if there's one or two that I can answer quickly. There we go. Graham G. Armand. Now, Graham G. I've known for about 25 years. Don't want to give away our age here, Graham. Definitely don't want to give our age. But Graham G. I've known for about 25 years. And that question that you just asked me, he's the ideal guy to talk to. So absolutely, if you can link up with Mr. Graham G, you will get that question answered. Stompy says, what is your 3 go-to funds selection at the moment for a medium to high risk type client? Medium to high risk type client, I would say Old Mutual Global Equity Fund, Allan Gray Balance Fund, S&P, Satrix S&P 500 Fund, and maybe a bit of the Old Mutual Absolute Smooth Growth Fund. Those are the 4 funds that I will choose, and then what I will do is I will go and allocate them in different percentages in order to get a medium high risk profile. So I would most probably have, I would say 70 to 80% of that into those 2 high risk funds, and 20 to 30% into the 2 medium risk funds, and that will give me that compensation that you're asking about, Stompies. Okay, I hope it helps. Mr. J says, will diversity in your portfolio not even out the return rate, growth rate? Diversification is a very interesting topic, I must be honest with you. So what is diversification? If you are looking at equity funds exclusively, And let's say you go and buy one share, one specific company share. If that company goes up or down, you go with it. Boop, boop, that's it. But you can go and buy a number of shares in one specific, what do you call it, industry. Let's call it the IT industry again. So you could go and buy a number of shares in the IT industry, Google, Nvidia, Microsoft, whatever the case might be. And then you have a bit of diversification, and although everything is IT and everything should move kind of together with each other, you're going to already have a bit more of a smoothing in terms of your portfolio, because some of them are going to go up substantially, some not so much, some of them might even stay flat, and some of them might go down. And that spread there brings the up and down a little bit, but it gives you a better and more smoother return on your investment. So the thing that will actually even out or even out the growth rate is once again the time that you spend in it. When I sit, that's one of the things I show clients normally, is that if you go and look at portfolios and you go and look historically at what those portfolios have done, it always has this thing that goes like this. So in year one, you have a chance of getting 40% return on investment, but a minus 30 if it goes bad. In year two, because you spend the time there, it might be plus 30 minus 20, plus 20 minus 10, plus 15 minus 8. So over time is the thing that actually smooths out that return rate or that growth rate. Diversity is the thing that you use to choose and balance the portfolio to be in the risk category that you want. I hope that makes sense. Okay, folks, I'm gonna have to finish now. It's 7:10. I'm tired. Mr. Gigi, appreciate you breaking down advice, testing, and way to make sense. Pleasure, my Gigi, anytime. Okay, folksies, I think that is that. Stompies, what is your view on using model portfolios like Cogent's and BlackRock selections? You know what? I don't use those specifically, Stompy, but I've got other model portfolios, and I think model portfolios is great, especially if you use it in conjunction with the right compliance, and if you don't feel comfortable with putting together your own portfolio structures. So absolutely, nothing wrong with those. There is actually some model portfolios that I use. I just don't use it as regularly because I've got some funds that I like. And normally I put my own fund selection together. And so far so good. Overall my clients are pretty happy. Okay folks, that was everything. Thank you. Lynette, thank you. Excellent discussion. Lynette, thank you very much for the comment. Everybody that has had such nice comments tonight, thank you very much. Everybody that has asked questions, thank you very much. Stompies, thank you. Next week, Thursday, we do it again. Folks, I look forward to it. Keep well. Bye-bye.